Is Demon Slayer the Hinokami Chronicles on Nintendo Switch 2 good? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video, so sit back and let me show you whether this game is worth your time or not. I've played a lot of fighting games on Nintendo Switch 1 and Nintendo Switch 2, and that's mostly what this channel is about. So I think that puts me in a unique position to judge how these sort of games run on Nintendo consoles. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Demon Slayer the Hinokami Chronicles 2 came out on all platforms back in August 5th, so that's a few months ago, and this game is a style of game that you would be familiar with if you played games like the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series. So it's a 3D arena brawler game with big, flashy ultimate attacks and very lore accurate gameplay. Light attacks and special attacks and simple combos, you get the idea. So before we get into how this game performs on the Nintendo Switch and how it looks compared to the other console versions, let's take a quick look through the main menu. First, we have the story mode. The story in Hinokami Chronicles 2 begins where the last one left off. So you start the game in the Entertainment District arc with a big introductory boss fight with Daki, and you work your way to the end of the Hashira training arc where we get two really cool scenes that happen. I'm not going to spoil anything, so don't worry about that. So during the story mode, aside from just reliving the story through very well done cutscenes, which CyberConnect is well known for, you also fight various canon and non-canon battles alongside completing some admittedly pretty bland side missions for NPCs who sometimes might want you to go find something that they lost or look for their friend who's mad at them for no reason that you care about. Occasionally, you also run into these samurai warrior style Muso gameplay sections that are short, but they are fun for the brief time that they're around. Aside from that, there's also a few mini games, like one where you have to push Himejima's boulder, which admittedly took me a lot longer to figure out than I would like to admit. You can also find memory fragments littered throughout stages that let you access backstories for certain characters. Unlike the unlockable characters, which can be purchased with in-game currency from the Kimetsu points shop, the unlockable stages have to be unlocked the hard way, and that's through playing the game. Most of them can be unlocked through the story mode by attaining S ranks in specific missions. The hot spring stage is a special case though. That might be the toughest one to get, and we'll get into that later. Overall, the story mode I would say is about what you would expect from a CyberConnect anime arena brawler game. It's a serviceable retelling of the original story with some extras thrown in. There's also a versus mode, obviously. This is where you can match up against a friend or a computer, and there's also an endurance match option where you have a series of challenges. If you go down to the fourth option, which is survival mode, if you can make it up to and defeat 40 opponents in survival mode, that's how you can unlock the hot spring stage. And as you can see from my footage here, I have not yet attempted it, and I don't think I'm going to anytime soon.
You suck.
Next up is the online match mode. That shouldn't need any description. So we have ranked match, casual, group, and ranked leaderboard. Group is where you can obviously create a group and play online with friends. But since we're on the topic of online, if you saw my review of the last Demon Slayer Nintendo Switch game, then you would know that I excoriated that game for how bad its online was. It was completely unplayable. There was never even a single match in that game that I had where it felt playable, not even one. So it was with some reservation that I even bought the second game, but I decided to give it a chance to see if they made any improvements to the online. And after 127 online matches in Demon Slayer the Hinokami Chronicles 2 for the Nintendo Switch 2, and just pretend that you don't see my win rate there. In fact, let me just blur it out real quick. I think you can tell here from how many matches that I played in Demon Slayer 2 versus Demon Slayer 1 that Hinokami Chronicles 2 was, well, how should I put this? It's not perfect, but it is a lot more bearable than the first game was online. This is a short clip of me playing Hinokami 2 online for the very first time. So this is my first match and my reactions. It feels pretty good. Like, I gotta be honest, this game feels pretty good. And again, this is my first one.
my first online match. Like, there's not much difference between playing it offline and playing it online.
Believe it or not, I actually thought this game had rollback netcode the first time that I played it online. It felt that good. It felt like I was playing it in training mode or in story mode, even though I was playing online against other people. So I was all in. I was excited. Finally, a Demon Slayer game with good online. At least that's what I thought. However, after a little while, that's when I started to run into the players with bad connections or who were very far away, and that's when I realized that no, this game actually does not have rollback. In fact, it very clearly still has delay-based netcode. In a match with a bad connection, you might have to wait like half a second between the time that you push the button and when you see it happen on screen, which makes playing the game, at least in that specific connection, pretty much unplayable. There are some matches where the delay is there, but you can still make do by just pushing your inputs a little earlier than you normally would during a character's animation. However, this makes the more complicated combos pretty much impossible. That doesn't mean that good connections are impossible to find though, even on the Switch. In fact, you can find them regularly, but you can also find bad connections regularly. In my experience, most connections are less than ideal, but not unplayable. A small amount of connections are very good, and another small amount are totally unplayable. If I would give the online of the last Demon Slayer game a rating, it would be 3 out of 10, because at least it connected online. If it didn't connect online, it'd be a 0. I would give Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles 2 the online a 6.5. So it's a lot better online than the last game, but it's nowhere close to where it needs to be. The path of the Demon Slayer lets you play all the major boss fights of the previous arc before the entertainment district. There's not much else to it. In the training paths mode, you can pick a Hashira to train under, but all that really means is that you have to traverse a board game like mode and fight a series of very easy fights. And when I say very easy, I mean it literally. There is zero challenge to any of these fights, and in fact, I don't think I ever got hit even once, even in advanced mode. There does seem to be a problem in this mode though, at least on the Switch and Switch 2, in that this is the only mode where this game has crashed on me multiple times. If this happened to you in any of the other platforms, then let me know by leaving a comment down in the comment section below. In the Kimetsu point shop, you can use points that you've gotten from offline and online matches to buy unlockable characters and alternate costumes. You can also get gear pieces and different ultimate arts, which are your character's final ultimate attacks, and a bunch of other things like music tracks. In conclusion, Demon Slayer The Hinokami Chronicles 2 is a great overall game if you're a fan of the anime and manga. The supers and all the attacks translate very well and look beautiful. The game is fun. The worst part about it is the same as in the last game, which is the performance of the online mode, but it has seen some improvements in that department as well, although it would be great to get rollback netcode. The implementation of a better netcode would be the difference between me playing this game for the 65 hours I already have and me playing it for potentially hundreds of hours, because the core gameplay of Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles 2 is very, very fun. I would say it's far better than any game in the Naruto Ultimate Storm series, but the online is where most people are going to be spending their time. But if the online is not up to snuff, then people are going to move on to other games once they're done with the single player content, and once they run into enough players with connections that have half a second or longer of delay. I give this game a 7.5 out of 10. It's got so much going for it. The Demon Slayer fan can get a lot out of it, but the online is pretty underwhelming. Although, like I said, it's not as bad as in the last game. You can still have fun with it. By the time you're watching this video, the Kaigaku DLC will either be a few hours away from release or it will already be out. So I'm going to have some gameplay for that as soon as I get back from work. So make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles 2 gameplay on the Nintendo Switch 2. And I also do a lot of other fighting games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 6. And Virtua Fighter 5 Revo whenever that comes out. I'm a big fan of Avatar, so I'm going to be following that game as well. I got a Discord link down below, so check that out. I'm Switchplayed done.